All right, what's up? Episode 5, Smokes and Scripture. We're smoking the Sinistro, Honor Amongst Thieves, and we're talking Proverbs. Let's get to it. All right, this is Smokes and Scripture, Episode 5. And if you're here, that means you're here for the Scripture portion. In video 1, we do a cigar, we do a little bit of a review, what we like about it. And then what we do in the second part is the Scripture portion, or sorry, not the second part, but the second channel, we do the Scripture portion where we talk about either a set piece of Scripture or a whole chapter like we're going to go ahead and talk about today. And what we've chosen for today is Proverbs in its entirety. Why I read it, a little challenge that I started out in the beginning of June, and kind of a little bit about what Proverbs is. June 1, I started a challenge for myself to do 30 days of Proverbs every day. And what I decided to do is I'm going to go ahead and read one, pick out a highlight, then I'll take that and go ahead and put it on the various social channels. I'm using Twitter, I'm using Instagram. I pull a highlight, put it on my story, or post a tweet about it, or what have you. And I've been doing that for all of June. We're coming up on the halfway point here right now. And so what's nice about Proverbs is that there's conveniently 31 Proverbs to read. So basically you can read one every day and get a little bit of wisdom throughout that month. I do read my Bible pretty regularly. I do have other plans that I'm working on, but by doing this Proverb challenge, it gives me another opportunity to spend a little bit more time in my Bible. Why am I doing this? Well, I remember back when I was probably 15 or 16, I was watching like a freestyle motocross video. I think it was Twitch, one of his videos or something, or one of his friends, one of their dirt bike friends that passed away. And one of the guys had quoted Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, which says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he'll guide your paths." And I loved it. It stuck with me all these years. It's one of the first verses I really memorized and really actually reading the Bible on my own. So I heard that. I went back and I highlighted it in my Bible, and I've remembered it all these years, and it stuck with me, and it's one that I rely on a lot. So that went ahead and led me to want to read the other Proverbs. What are they all about? What do they have to say? And I've been reading them pretty frequently ever since. And then once you really start to read the Proverbs, a lot of this stuff just clicks. I mean, it's just kind of basic it's just common knowledge, or it's common sense things that you read in these, but it's just like, okay, if A happens, I need to do B. It's just it's a perfect guidebook. It's a book of wisdom for us to make the best decisions possible. And so what I did to better understand it throughout this challenge is I didn't read. I watched. I didn't read a video. I watched a video from the Bible Project, and they have a pretty solid breakdown of Proverbs itself. And I would highly, highly encourage you to read it or to watch any of their videos on the Bible, because it just makes stuff so easy to understand. I watched one on Proverbs because I've read them, but I didn't know exactly how it's broken up. And so I'm not going to completely go into everything they have to say about it, but basically the beginning portions of it is a father talking to his son about wisdom. They mention wisdom as being a woman. They mention Lady Wisdom, and she's talking to people in the streets, get in and say, listen to me, do this, listen to wisdom. And then from verses 10 throughout, it's basically the highly quotable stuff that you've probably seen, or if you've read Proverbs before, you know what I'm talking about. And it talks about everything in life throughout the rest of those Proverbs from 10 to 29. It's all the daily stuff that we're dealing with. It's all throughout those particular chapters. And then chapter 30 and 31 closes out with 30 being a guy who says that he doesn't have wisdom, but then he realizes he actually does, and the scripture gave it to him. So he's kind of being the model person for us. He's being a model for us and how we should approach gaining wisdom in our lives. And then 31 closes with a woman talking to her son about a woman who's living wisely. And that really is Proverbs in a nutshell. And so what I've learned also from that video is basically, like I mentioned earlier, it's a guidebook. That's what it is. It's a book for us to attain skills to live in God's world, for us to attain wisdom to live in God's world, and to learn from past generations. It's one of the most important things in life in general, is to learn from somebody who's been there before. I rely heavily on listening to my parents, and my dad, my mom, they've been there. I rely on it with some coworkers who are more experienced. They've been there, done that. Those are the people that we need to learn from. It's telling us to do exactly that. And so basically, to wrap it up, there's not necessarily 3 parts, but I guess there kind of is. There's 3 parts of Proverbs, but they're all equally important, and they're all giving us guidance to our lives to make the best decision. One thing to note on there too is that it's not telling us that we absolutely have to follow these things. It's not saying that at all. There's no guarantees. It's either you can listen to God, follow his wisdom, and make sound judgment, or you don't. and you don't have to, and you can deal with those consequences if you decide to go that route. That's Christianity as well. It's you're born with a free will. You don't have to follow Christ. You can deal with whatever comes if you don't, but if you do, you're going to be prosperous, and that's Proverbs is saying also there for us. So that's going to go ahead and wrap this up for episode 5 of Smokes in Scripture. If you want, check the Smokes in Scripture Cigar Club for episode 5 as well. Where we review a cigar. If you decide just to continue to watch the Scripture, we thank you for checking it out. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. God bless.